So Python, it's really gotten popular, and you want to learn why.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Python has.
Okay.
It all goes back to the late 1980s with this guy Guido van Rossum, and
Uh,
he just wanted to make a language that was easier and more fun to use, and he
yeah.
was all about simplicity and just writing code that looks almost like plain English.
I've heard that's a big reason why people like it so much,
Yeah.
especially when they're just getting started.
Oh yeah.
It's not scary like some of the older languages.
Right, it's very approachable, but
Yeah.
don't think for a second that it's not powerful.
Right. It can do some serious stuff. Like
Absolutely.
we're not just talking about, automating little tasks here.
No, no, no.
This is behind some big things like data science and machine learning.
Oh, yeah, when the whole world went crazy for data and AI,
Right.
Python was right there waiting.
Okay.
It had these amazing libraries, basically like toolkits,
Yeah.
ready-made for handling huge amounts of data and building complicated algorithms.
Oh, okay. Things like pandas and NumPy. These are like the bread and butter for data scientists.
So they don't have to write everything from scratch. They can just grab these tools.
Exactly. It's all about efficiency.
Got it.
And that's a big reason why Python's become so huge in those fields.
Okay. But it doesn't stop there, does it?
Oh, no, no.
It's also big in web development
Huge.
with things like Django and Flask. Does
Exactly.
sound familiar.
Yeah, you've probably heard them.
They make building websites and web applications easier, right?
Way easier. They give you a structure like a blueprint, so you're not starting from nothing every time.
Oh, okay.
Django's known for being really robust.
Right, right.
Companies like Instagram and Pinterest use it.
Oh, wow.
And then there's Flask. It's more lightweight,
Oh, okay.
gives developers more freedom.
So it can do it all, huh?
Pretty much.
Analyze tons of data and then design a beautiful website.
It's like a Swiss Army knife for the digital world.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's automation.
Ooh. Getting rid of all those boring tasks.
Exactly.
Tell me more about that.
Well, whether you're a marketer sending out like a zillion emails
Oh, yeah.
or a scientist crunching numbers, Python can take those repetitive things off your plate so you can be more creative and strategic.
That's pretty appealing.
It is.
But how does Python compare to like Java?
Ah,
I hear that name a lot too, and
yeah.
they both seem popular but for different reasons.
That's a great question. A lot of people wonder about that.
Yeah.
So they're both used for web development, but they often play different roles.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Java is often used for those big, complex applications like banking systems or online stores.
Gotcha.
Well, Python is known for being versatile and letting you develop things quickly.
So if Java's like the solid foundation of a skyscraper,
Yeah,
Python is more like the adaptable framework for a modern building.
that's a great analogy.
Okay.
They both have their place, and sometimes they even work together. But if you want something that can do a lot of different things and lets you experiment and change things fast,
Yeah.
Python's usually the way to go.
This is starting to make a lot of sense. It's history,
Yeah.
the focus on readability,
Right.
the powerful libraries and frameworks.
Mhm.
It all adds up to this amazing, versatile language.
It does, and that versatility is what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
But there's more to the story.
Okay.
As Python has become more popular, it's run into some challenges.
Okay, I was wondering about that because nothing's perfect, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of its limitations?
Oh, one thing that Python developers sometimes they run into is this thing called the Global Interpreter Lock, or GIL.
Oh, okay, that sounds kind of technical.
It is a bit.
What is that exactly? And
Yeah.
why should we care about it?
It's basically a quirk in how Python is built.
Okay.
Imagine you have a busy kitchen with like a bunch of chefs, but there's only one set of cooking tools. Okay, so they all have to take turns, even if they could be working on different dishes at the same time.
Exactly. That's kind of what the GIL does.
Okay.
It only lets one thread of Python code run at a time, and
Oh, I see.
that can slow things down, especially for tasks that could be done, in parallel.
So it's like all those chefs waiting around to use the same whisk?
Pretty much. But, there are ways to get around it,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
using multiprocessing, which basically runs multiple Python processes at the same time.
So it's like having multiple kitchens, each with their own set of tools.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay. So it's not a total deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind depending on what you're doing with it.
Right. And usually Python's strengths outweigh this limitation,
Okay.
especially when you think about all the tools and libraries that are always evolving.
Yeah.
For example, have you heard of ORMs?
ORMs. Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah.
I think I read that they're helpful for working with databases.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
ORM stands for Object Relational Mapper.
So picture this, you're a Python developer and you need to talk to a database.
Right.
But databases speak a different language called SQL.
Right.
RMs are like translators. They let you work with the database using Python code.
Oh, that's handy.
It makes the code much cleaner and easier to manage.
So you don't have to learn a whole new language?
Exactly. You can stick with what you know.
Nice.
And for example, instead of writing those super complicated SQL queries,
Right.
you can just use an RRM to grab data from a table with like just a few lines of Python code.
It's like a universal adapter for databases.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty clever.
And it's just one example of how the Python community is always coming up with new ways to make the language even better, you know?
Yeah, more powerful and efficient.
Exactly.
It's amazing to see how Python has come so far.
Yeah.
You know, from its early days as a scripting language to what it is now,
Yeah.
like a major player in machine learning and AI.
It's really changed the game.
It has, and it's not just the technology itself, is it?
No.
It's the whole community.
It is
The
so-
open source spirit.
Mm-hmm.
All those creative people using it to solve problems and build amazing things.
Absolutely.
That's what's so inspiring about it.
It is.
We've talked about data science, web development, automation.
Yeah.
But are there any other areas where it's making a big impact that might surprise people?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, one area that's really taking off is bioinformatics.
Bioinformatics, huh? That sounds pretty specialized.
It is, but Python's playing a big role, you know?
Uh-huh.
Scientists are using it to analyze huge amounts of genetic data and
Uh,
model complex biological processes and even design new drugs.
so Python is helping to unlock the secrets of life.
In a way, yeah, and it's not just in the lab either.
Really?
They're using it to create educational tools and simulations so students can,
Okay.
visualize and understand complex biological concepts.
That's really cool. It's like bridging the gap between tech and
Yeah.
science and medicine.
Yeah, it really is. And then there's robotics. Python's being used to program the brains of robots,
I've seen some pretty impressive robots lately.
Yeah.
They can do so much now.
It's a rapidly evolving field, and Python's right there at the forefront.
That's awesome.
And we can't forget about game development.
Oh, right.
People are using Python to create everything from indie games to complex simulations.
That makes sense. Games are basically software, and Python's great for building software.
Exactly. And the best part is that it lets people from all sorts of backgrounds,
Right.
Scientists, artists, educators, they can all use their skills and passions to create something new.
Yeah.
It's a language that really empowers people.
This has been amazing. We've covered so much,
We have.
from the early days of Python to where it is now.
It's been a journey.
I feel like I really get what makes Python so special.
And this is just the beginning of your Python adventure.
Right.
There's a whole world out there,
Yeah.
Online courses, tutorials, communities, where you can dive deeper and start building your own projects.
I'm feeling inspired already. So for anyone listening who's curious about Python,
Yeah,
what's the best way to get started?
just start.
Okay.
Pick a small project that interests you,
Yeah.
Maybe automating a task, building a simple website, or even just playing around with some code.
Right.
There are tons of resources for beginners, and the Python community is super welcoming and supportive.
That's great to hear. It sounds like Python is more than just a language. It's a gateway to a whole world of possibilities.
It has the power to change the world, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to write the next big thing.
I like the sound of that. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.